At it again, and we have why I left the left. Let's dive in.
Do you believe in free speech?
Dave Rubin.
Do you believe that
Yes.
people should be judged by their character, not their skin color?
Yes.
Do you believe in freedom of religion?
Yes.
If you believe these things, you're probably not a progressive. You might think you're a progressive. I used to think I was. My show, The Rubin Report, was originally part of the Progressive Young Turks network. Progressives struck me as liberals, but louder. Progressives were the nice guys. They looked out for the little guy. They cared about women and minorities. They embraced change. In short, who wouldn't want to be a progressive? But over the last couple of years, the meaning of the word progressive has changed. Progressives used to say, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Not anymore. Banning speakers whose opinions you don't agree with from college campuses, that's not progressive. Prohibiting any words not approved of as politically correct, that's not progressive. Putting trigger warning.
Prohibiting words that aren't approved as politically correct? What? Now that's just absolutely crazy. Now, if you want to ban someone from your private property, all right, fine, but that word isn't politically correct. Yeah, that's just going, too far, obviously.
Progressive. Putting trigger warnings on books, movies, music, anything that might offend people, that's not progressive either. All of this has led me to believe.
That's what that's all about. Whenever you've seen like the trigger warning on something, like on social media or something, that's why. I've always wondered. I was like, trigger warning, huh? And I just never really took the time to like dive into like when it started, why it started, what does that even mean, Yeah, so that's why. It's to let people know, hey, if you're a marshmallow, you could be offended here if you watch this. Okay.
Offend people, that's not progressive either. All of this has led me to believe that much of the left is no longer progressive, but regressive. This is one of the reasons I've spent so much time on my show talking about the regressive left. This regressive ideology doesn't judge people as individuals, but as a collective. If you're black or female or Muslim or Hispanic or member of any other minority group, you're judged differently than the most evil of all things, a white Christian male. The regressive left ranks minority groups in a pecking order to compete in a kind of oppression Olympics. Gold medal goes to the most offended.
He's not lying either. And the fact that I haven't even been on this journey for very long and I've realized that lets you know how bad it actually is. It's like an oppression Olympics. Like he said, how does that work? When somebody calls me the ist or a phobe, hold on, wait a second. I'm black though. I'm offended. Who being offended matters more? Man, oh man, these people are out of hand. Sheesh Louise.
A white Christian male. The regressive left ranks minority groups in a pecking order to compete in a kind of oppression Olympics. Gold medal goes to the most offended. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream that his children would be judged by their character and not their skin color was a liberal idea, but these days it's not a progressive ideal. And what about religious freedom, the idea that no one else can tell you what you have to believe? Surely progressives still support that basic right. Well, not so much. I'm a married gay man, so you might think that I appreciate the government forcing a Christian baker or photographer or florist to act against their religion in order to cater, photograph, or decorate my wedding. But you'd be wrong. A government that can force Christians to violate their conscience can force me to violate mine. If a baker won't bake you a cake, find another baker. Don't demand that the state tell him what to do with his private business.
He's got a point. Just because in the immediate moment it doesn't affect you, eventually it will. If they can tell someone else that they have to do something, eventually they'll tell you that you have to do something that you don't want to do. And a perfect example is the border, right? Not I wouldn't say a perfect example, but it is somewhat of an example, because you have a lot of individuals that I feel like are on the left, from what I've been hearing and seeing, A lot of the people on the left support open borders. Oh yeah, let them come in. Oh, if you say that they're not allowed, you're a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad person. You're horrible. All right? But we've seen more recently the mayor in New York complaining about the homeless problem. Who's homeless out on the streets? Have you guys seen some of those videos? At least the video that I watched. Who's homeless? Immigrants from the southern border. Churches have brought them up to New York. Now they're complaining about it. Oh, we don't have the space. We don't have this. We don't have that. We can't take this. Oh. But when it wasn't directly affecting you, you were in support of it. But now that it is, you see what I mean? It's the same sort of situation. Yes, it doesn't really affect Dave Rubin if the government is forcing people who have religious beliefs to make cakes for them or take photos or anything like that. But like he said, eventually the government will tell him that he has to do something that he doesn't want to do. And that's where the problem for individuals would really begin.
I'm pro-choice, but a government that can force a group of Catholic nuns, literally called the Little Sisters of the Poor, to violate their faith and pay for abortion-inducing birth control can force anyone to do anything. That's not progressive, that's regressive. Today's progressivism has become a faux moral movement hurling charges of racism, bigotry, xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, and a slew of other meaningless buzzwords at anyone they disagree with.
I talked about that yesterday, if I remember correct. The name calling. It's like we know the script now. It's nothing new. You disagree, you're an ist or a phobe. It's what you're just gonna get it labeled as, just because you disagree.
The battle of ideas has been replaced by a battle of feelings, and outrage has replaced honesty. Diversity reigns supreme.
Yes, hold on, run that back. That was so
anyone
true.
They disagree with. The battle of ideas has been replaced by a battle of feeling.
I'm sorry, I have to touch on this because that is exactly what it is that I have seen during this journey. The battle of ideas has turned into a battle of feelings. Not a battle of facts, feelings. And it's such a shame. People have disregarded facts as if the facts about a situation can just be bended or twisted whenever they wanted to. And the reality around them would change. And no, a fact is a fact. You can't change that.
And outrage has replaced honesty.
Where have we seen that at? Politicians lying to the people that vote for them to get them outraged instead of just being honest with them and telling them the actual truth. It's just one example. And I haven't been on this, once again, I haven't even been on this journey for very long, and I see this stuff. It's crazy.
Diversity reigns supreme as long as it's not that pesky diversity of thought. This isn't the recipe for a free society. It's a recipe for authoritarianism.
Facts.
For these reasons, I can no longer call myself a progressive. I don't really call myself a Democrat either. I'm a classical liberal, a free thinker. And as much as I don't like to admit it, defending my liberal values has suddenly become a conservative position. So if you think people should be able to say what they think without being punished for it, that people should be judged by their behavior, not their skin color, and that people should be able to live the way that they want to live without government interference, then there's not much left on the left for you. I'll keep trying to explain that to progressives until I'm totally left out.
So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that people want the government in more control is just crazy to me. When you have so many people running from other places who have governments that basically have ultimate power, coming here because our government doesn't have ultimate power, but yet the people that live here want our government to have ultimate, like that doesn't make any sense if people just open their eyes. I remember one of you commented a quote. I want to say it was from Thomas Jefferson, and it said something along the lines of a government big enough to give you what you want is also big enough to take everything you have, or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's so true. So true. Literally gives me goosebumps. Like, a government big enough to give you everything you want is also big enough to take everything away from you. And that is what we've seen in some of these other situations and circumstances where people have allowed the government to basically take over because the government lied to them and told them that it'd be this wonderful idea and thing to do. Hey, just give us the ultimate power. We'll take care of you. That may be good for a little while, and then it all goes down the toilet. We've seen that time and time again. We have examples of it. We checked out a video of people, I forgot where they were from. Cuba? Venezuela? I forgot exactly where they were from. Remind me in the comment section, but they were on a college campus telling folks like, no, this is not what you want to do. We've come from a place where what you want to do is our reality. And that ain't like, we want to live here in America because we don't like that. And yet you still have people pushing for it. And then on top of that, you have this indoctrination on these campuses. And at the same time, you have censorship on these campuses because they don't allow opposing viewpoints to come onto the campus and let these students know, hey, this is a horrible idea. This is why. Which should tell you that the things that these students are being taught on these campuses is terrible and it won't stand up to a debate. They don't want to debate. They can't debate because if they did, they'd get destroyed. Which is why they try to push those people off into the corner and label them, ist and phobes and extremists and everything else. Why is that? Because I've been sitting back and thinking, why do they always throw those names and try to shun people when they have opposing ideas? Like Dave Rubin said, it's all about diversity until it comes to ideas. Why is that? Why don't they welcome opposing ideas? My conclusion is that it's because their own ideas don't stand up to debate. They're good for indoctrination. They're good for repeating over and over again and getting that loop in someone's head. But when it comes to an actual debate, it never stands up. And the few times that we have seen people debate on, some of these different topics, it always turns into who can win the oppression Olympics. Oh, I'm black and I'm oppressed. Oh, I'm gay and this or that. Like something else gets thrown into the equation. Oh, you're white, so you have all the privilege in the situation. You can't speak on this. It always turns into something else instead of just what the debate is actually about. I don't know. That's just my observation, Like Dave Rubin said, I consider myself a free thinker. If the Democrats do something terrible, I'm going to call them out. If the Republicans start doing something terrible, I'm going to call them out. That's the way that it should be. I don't understand why this is so overly complicated and I don't know. It's weird. Whoever does some BS should be called out about it, and that should be the end of it. But as always, y'all let me know what you thought about all of this in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.